It's all fun and games when you start 72 or 162 seeds until you want to up pot them, and then it gets real quick. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Sandy Bottom Homestead. It's a new year, and that means that it's seed starting season, essentially. If it's not for you now, it will be coming up very soon. So we're going to talk about some different pots and stuff to use and stuff that I've been testing out in my garden to try and be more efficient in what I'm doing. Before we get started, I just want to come over here and check on my Brussels sprouts. It seems like we may actually be doing pretty good with them this year. So I want to check on the status of those. All right, check these bad boys out. They have fully recovered from the epic freeze of 2022. Thankfully, we're in 23, so hopefully we won't get anything else. And before you ask, all of this leaf litter is just the mustard that I cut and dropped right there, so it can just kind of break down into the soil. But let's look and see. I see some Brussels sprouts forming. Oh, we got some small ones. A little bit bigger. To give you a little bit of a backstory on the Brussels sprouts, I've been trying to grow them for 3 years, and they're notoriously difficult in my area to grow. So we love eating Brussels sprouts, so we just keep trying. And it looks like we're onto something this year, so we'll keep going. But so far, so good. It's a little bit behind schedule. It's because I got sick earlier in the year. You can't stop that. And the other plant over on the other side that we didn't look at, they're actually a little bit bigger. And if I had to guess, in about a week or 2 weeks, they'll be bigger than what I had last year. And the plants look a lot stronger, so we're gonna take it. And let's just give a shout out to this one kale plant right here. I mean, wow, look at that. So we got a bunch of different containers here. I mean, you can see we've got all these different sizes here. And the question I always have wondered, and I've seen a lot of people using things as like, what size containers should I be using to start my seeds? I mean, that's the big question. And really, it comes down to how you're starting seeds, but I've definitely tried some things in the past that I just hate, and I've tried some things that I love, and now I'm trying new things, but each one has specific uses is what I'm finding out. So, and there's even a couple that I don't have out here that we'll go check on too. First one is the standard 6-pack. Can't go wrong with these. I love them. I've been using these for years. Now, one tip is when you're buying these, try to look for them. You can find them on Amazon, I believe, and they're extra deep 6 cells. And when you get the deep ones, they're deeper, obviously, but they're wider as well, so your plants can stay in there longer. And so that's really important. Now, not all things need to go that way. So I grow seeds for my garden, but I also sell them. So when you're selling seeds, some things go really good in here. So I do things like broccoli, cabbages, collards, all kinds of greens, Brussels sprouts, you name it. But the things that you really plant a lot of and you don't need to pot up is what I would put in those. So the issue that I have with a lot of this stuff is space as far as where I'm growing. And we're gonna go in and check on some stuff that I have in my seed starting shelf, and I'll show you the space requirements that I have and that I've put on myself, because I've told myself, this is the space that I have, I will not go over this space. So now I have to get creative. This is a 72 tray cell. So this I like as well, because if I put 6 packs in here, it's 36, and then this is double. But the issue is, you can see, I mean, clearly they're smaller. You know, they're about half the size of the other ones. That goes without saying. But these have their own special purpose too. Think about those as like quick turnarounds or stuff that you're gonna have to pot up. And when we go inside, you can see the other day I started 3 trays of those, which was really good, because over those 3 trays, I have less than a whole shelf used, and I'm doing more than I already would be. And when I put the other one up, I'll be doing double. So that works out well, but not everything can go in that. And that's really important to remember. So I can envision in these peppers, eggplants, tomatoes, because all of those you can pot up, and you should probably pot up, especially the tomatoes and peppers. So they don't need a big space to start off with. And this allows you to get these quick turnaround crops out. So as we're doing it, we have lettuce and kale and cabbage and all these in these 6-packs, but they're all coming back out. So it'll work out pretty well. I had a thought, and the thought was, instead of trying to talk my way through it, why don't I just show you guys? So for instance, here, these are my onions. They're hardening off, they're ready to go. So you can see right there, we've cleared those off the shelf. Now when we go inside, we're gonna see that what we've put in some of these other trays, and I'll show you and explain to you why. You can see here that I am totally limited on space, but up here we did some of those 72 trays. And let's see. So on this one alone, I don't know if you can see the tag, but we have cilantro, kohlrabi, broccoli, and then a couple rows of lettuce. And so these are really good because they'll be able, you know, these 3 rows of lettuce, they're gonna be out, and we're gonna keep cycling those in more and more and more. And the broccoli and stuff like that, they can actually get to a decent size in here, and then we can plant them out, or we can pot them up. The kohlrabi is a quick grower, so you don't really want to leave them in the cells too long, because they can actually get root bound and they won't grow as well when you get them out. So once we get a few true leaves on it, when the weather is right, we'll get those out and get them started. And then the cilantro, same thing. They don't really need a lot, and they're really cold tolerant, believe it or not. So we can get those out too. Now in this one, it's another 72 cell tray. We've got a bunch of different peppers in here and eggplants. So we've got some Sir Purple peppers, Craig's jalapeno, red cherry peppers, black beauty eggplants, Jimmy Nardella peppers, and some cayenne peppers. And so all of these will end up getting repotted. So perfect for these. I can fit a lot in here, get them going, and then I can repot them, up pot them as needed. And then this one, we have more peppers. So we have lipstick peppers in here, and then we have Super Shepherd peppers in here. And these are basically my bell peppers that I use. So they're not bell peppers, but they are sweet peppers. So same thing, you can up pot them really fast. But if you look down here, you can see that all of these 6-packs, like generally speaking, when you go to a store, you buy 6 kale plants, or, you know, not really rutabagas, I'm doing this, but you know, the collards, the cabbages, all that stuff, the broccolis, that stuff usually goes all 6-packs, put them all in, and you do a mass planting of those. Skip a tier and then I'll come back to it, but since I'm here, I'm gonna show you the 162 tray. And so this works out really well because I have onions planted in a 162 tray and the 6-packs. So we'll be able to see the difference in those. This is the 162 tray, and you can see it's chock full of onions. Each one has about 3 onions in it, and they're easily separated. So if you want to do the math yourself, I'm going to just roughly say it's about 400 and some onions in there versus these 6-packs. And I mean, these take a lot of space. They are, you know, they don't have as much. Now, the difference is that when I go to sell these are going to be easier to manage. Somebody can come and grab a 6-pack of these. I only sell the ones with multiple onions in them. But that way they can get those, and then these I can do for myself or give them away, or even up pot them and give them to, or sell them to other people. But that plant doesn't get very big, so it works out in the favor of that 162 tray. Now in the greenhouse, I know I've showed you before, I also have a 162 tray with turnips, beets, and yodfa in it. And it's the same thing. Those turnips, they don't need to get very big, they don't need to get very root bound either. So I can get them in and out really quick. And the beets, same thing, in and out really quick. So it's a good purpose and a good space saver to get that in, and I can get a lot more started. So see, with the turnips themselves, I mean, we've got probably, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks roughly. Now I'll start fertilizing them now that the freezes are not gone, but they're not as bad. And we'll be able to pump up the growth a little bit and get these in the ground in a couple weeks. But even the what are these called? Beets. Same thing. They don't have to get very big, but when we do, we can transplant those in one at a time. Now, yodfa grows like a broccoli, so it is a little bit of a gamble, but I'm going to put them in the greenhouse anyways. So that's why I didn't start but 2 rows of those. And then they can kind of get established in the ground, and they're already going to be in the same climate they're in now. So it's just a different circumstance for those. You know, you use them, you save the space, and then you replant them. So where a 6-pack, I can probably, well, first of all, I do reuse them, But I'll grow the 6-pack, and then if I grow the cabbage in it, for instance, I won't necessarily take that cabbage out and then replant it. That 6-pack is basically done. Where that 162 tray, first of all, it's a lot more sturdy and you can use a lot more. Now here's another tray that I'm very excited about using. Here's a 32 cell tray, okay? Now let's keep in mind this is 10 inches by 20, and I put these 6-packs in 10-inch by 20 trays. They're called 10-20 trays. So you get 30 of these in one tray, or I get 32 in. And I plan to use this solely as tomatoes. So you get a lot more space, and especially by putting this perlite on top, which you can look for the video on that if you haven't seen it. It helps with the damping off process and then any kind of moisture issues. So I can plant these plants in here and then go ahead and up pot them later and save all of that space and keep this cycle going. I know you're gonna ask me, what are you gonna up pot your potatoes into? Well, here's some that I have laying around, but these are about 4-inch pots. So I plant them in there and I plant them all the way down to the bottom. And I was telling Batavia from Be Better Garden the other day that as soon as I do those, within a week they double in size every time. So this is going to be a really good space saver. Being the fact that they're a little bit bigger, that means I can leave them in here a little bit longer, because it's all fun and games when you start 72 or 162 seeds until you want to up pot them, and then it gets real quick, if you know what I'm saying. So next thing you know, you're up potting and you're running out of space. I've had it on my floor in my house, and then the freezes in and out, taking them outside, bringing them in. It's just, it can be a real headache. So it's one of those things where it's best to go ahead and plan for it. And this is all based off of me over the years learning how to do it. So before we move on to the ones that I don't like, let me just say this. I am notorious for being cheap. Thrifty, frugal, whatever you want to call it. It's two things. One, saving money, obviously, but two, it's wasting resources. And I don't like to waste resources, but I do have one thing that I stand by, and it's get the right stuff for the right job at the right time. And so over the years of doing the 6-packs and stuff like that, I've run into issues. And as we expand over the years and we grow more and start more and more seeds and do other things with them, we've found a need to get them. Now, a lot of these trays, like when I bought these trays here, I think these are $5 a tray. So they're not incredibly strong. I mean, they do bend a little bit, but if you take care of them, you don't leave them outside, they'll last multiple years, multiple seasons, if even. And the reason why I got the 32-inch trays is because I needed to hit that free shipping level. I mean, it was like $10 a ship where I could get 2 more trays and get the free shipping. So obviously I'd rather pay for a product than the shipping. So marketing got me there. But these things really help. So thinking about how plants grow and how you're going to use them and transport them and up pot them or whatever really factors into all of these different things that we're doing. Now there's still some things that I put in little, basically half of a solo cup. Like I have pots that are about half this size. And there's stuff I put in here is like I'll put my squashes, I'll put pumpkins, zucchinis, anything like that that is quick and then needs to go in the ground really fast. But for me, for selling them, I put them in here. Now that I have those 32 trays, those are gonna work out really good because of the schedule of starting them. You're gonna start your tomatoes earlier, and then you're gonna up pot them. And then typically I don't start planting my squash until kind of late. So I can reuse those immediately for that and have more growing in a small area to get them outside. So the ones that I don't like, okay, everybody likes to hear what you don't like to use. The biggest one for me, and I just threw them away the other day, that shows how much I don't like them, is the peat pellet trays. You know, they're the long trays, they hold like 72 peat pellets. I don't like those. I've used them for years. I had a company send them to me last year. I believe Ferry Morris sent them to me, and I gave them another shot. And it was nothing against the product by Ferry Morris, but it was the fact of what it is. I just don't like using the peat pellets for two reasons. One, the peat pellets are very expensive. And two, it's really small. So no matter what, you're basically instantly potting them up again and again and again and again. So I don't like those. I've had a lot of problems with those in the past. Here's another one I don't like. So there's a caveat to this one. Now, I've done this for a long time, and that's these little tinfoil trays. These suck unless you're doing something like propagating. And I do use the big, deep, like turkey pan ones for starting my sweet potatoes in. So they do have their purpose, but as far as like putting tomato plants in them and stuff like that, I don't like using those. They're very flimsy, and the flimsy part comes in when you're going to transport things in and outside, you know, in order to harden off, or, you know, you're trying to make space and put stuff outside and it's going to get a freeze, you got to bring it in. I would rather have 2 trays in 2 hands than 1 tray in 2 hands. And then if, you know, it collapses, it's a nightmare. But they have their space. And then the final one that I don't like, and I've only tried it once, is soil blocks. One reason and one reason only, it's messy. That's it. It's just messy. For me, I start my seeds in my house. I have 3 or 4 shelves, I don't even remember off the top of my head. And then that's it. I need to have it nice and clean so I don't get dirt everywhere and stuff like that. So that's why I don't use soil blocks. And a lot of people do. Plus, I didn't want the startup for it. And then you have to make your own potting soil and stuff like that, which I've typically done in the past. But now I've kind of moved away from that, and I'm using bag soil just for like speed and time savings, because it really does make a huge difference when you're not making your own. Doesn't mean I wouldn't make it again, but you know, soil blocks, they're not for me. If I've missed one, let me know for sure, because these are the ones that I've tried. There's a lot more. I typically get my stuff from Bootstrap Farmer, Greenhouse Megastore, and Amazon. So that can kind of help you with that. Go around, look at all the different stuff they have, and really look at the measurements, because the measurements make a big difference. Everything that I have fits into those 10-20 trays, which you can get on Amazon or any of the other places, except for the 162 tray. So they redesigned it and it's a little bit longer now, but it's not that big a deal. So for the space savings, I'm good. I'm gonna keep using it. Especially in my greenhouse, when I started, I'm gonna have this little shelf right here where I could put 60 different seedlings with 2 162 trays. I can do a lot more. So let me know what you guys are starting by seed and what pots you like to use in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Goodbye.